Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of our Southern California First Time Buyer Market Update. This is for October 29th, 2021. I'm Stephen Mead. I'm the broker here at Domicile Real Estate, where we are on a mission to help California's renters become homeowners. And, I normally don't talk about kind of big predictions, but, we kind of see something, a bit of a perfect storm brewing. And I feel like it's at least sort of my responsibility to tell people what I'm thinking and not sit on this. I think now might be the actual worst time to be burnt out on the home search. And I think a lot of people are very burnt out right now. I think they're not happy with the selection. They're not happy with how the process feels overall. And I definitely understand that. And I feel you. Some phrase that I am often telling people is that it is a great time to buy a house, but it is not an easy time to buy a house. And I think that is very true at the moment. But we've kind of got some things happening in our market stats that lead me to believe, that we kind of have a little bit of a crunch coming. And whenever we have a crunch, that can often lead to price jumps. It can lead to sort of insanity type behavior, a lot of these things that we don't like to see. So I'm just going to jump right into it because I think it's important to kind of support these kind of statements with actual data and why I'm thinking that that's where we're heading. So let's run into our actual market stats here and we can talk about it. So the first thing is going to look like good news, but it's not. And I'm going to tell you why. So if you look here at our closed prices, and just as a reminder, this is first quartile, which means we take the median of the median. So if halfway between the cheapest and the most expensive is the median, this is halfway between the cheapest and the median, which I think is a good approximation of the entry-level home market. Now, this is for LA and Orange counties. For our entry-level single-family home, which is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, it actually looks like prices have kind of leveled off into kind of this like 700 to 740 range. And then not a lot of has moved. If you look at condos, it actually looks pretty similar, right? Right around 500. Maybe it's going up a little bit more. Here's the problem. These statistics, these closed stats are based on sales that were negotiated 4 to 6 weeks ago. And 4 to 6 weeks ago is actually a long time in the real estate market. So we don't have access. I'm going to go off share for a second. We don't have access. If a property comes up for sale and then it goes into escrow, we do not get to see what that price is until it closes. There's no way to, other than asking the agent, who may or may not tell you and likely will not tell you, there is no way to know what that property is closing at. We can guess, we can have conjecture, but that's not market available data. And so that means that when you have a very fast moving market, you can run into situations where the closed sales are somewhat unrelated to the current market conditions. And I think we are either in that scenario or we are heading to that scenario very shortly. And there's a couple reasons why I'm thinking that. So if you look at our total monthly payment, all these things look good, right? Like we're still right around that $4,000, $4,100 a month. That's not that much higher than it was in 2018. We're around $3,163 for our condo market. Still, again, that's not really that much higher, less than 10% higher than 2018. Like really, these look like good things. But remember, while this is based on current interest rate data, it is based on these prices that are the most recent data we have, but are still 4 to 6 weeks old. If we go here to our household income, again, this all looks great, right around $100,000 to afford our entry-level single-family home, and just below $80,000, kind of in that 75 to 80 range, in order to afford our entry-level 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. These are all very reasonable numbers, but there are some alarming things going on. So this is probably the biggest alarming thing, right? Is that we've seen a jump, not in one, but both, and we have crossed that threshold. This is our 14-day absorption rate. And what this means is that just as many houses or more that came onto the market have gone off the market and gone into escrow. Actually, not just gone off the market, have gone into escrow. There are probably some listings that were pulled from the market as well. Either they expired, sellers decided not to sell, etc. So this means that our rate of buyers is now exceeding the rate of properties coming on the market. And that is a real problem because this is where we move into that insanity zone if this starts existing for too long. And if we look at our total inventory, this is the other problem that we have here. And I want people to understand where it is. So if we look at these as two separate categories, neither is great news. One is worse than the other. Entry-level single-family home inventory has now dropped below 1,500 units in LA and Orange counties. The last time we kind of saw those numbers was right here around maybe July or June. July and June were not particularly easy. The month of June was not really an easy month for home buying. Okay, it was easier than March and April, but not really by that much. And I'm looking at the speed with which this graph is falling. Now, again, let's look at here. Where were we in November of last year? We had about 1,800 units. So we are now down 20% in inventory versus the same period, the same place we were last year. And last year's November was not an easy market, folks. It was a hard market. Now look at our condo market. Look at this inventory. Look at where we were in November of last year. We were about 1,900 units. We are now at around, under 1,100 units. I mean, this is almost a 50% decline in inventory versus where we were at the same point last year. I think it's really, really important to understand what that is going to mean in the next 30 days for competition. Now, if we look at here, our 14-day still active, this says if properties come online, and look, even these have a little bit of a downward slope to them. This week's stats aren't terrible for this. I think what we're seeing is people are snapping up some of that older inventory. Some of those houses that were passed over and have been sitting on the market are suddenly getting snatched up. And that really is a sign that, frankly, that people are getting desperate. Finally, I want to look at our week supply of homes and just reference this for a second. So here we are at 3.34 weeks of inventory. Again, that equates to about where we were in the month of June as far as inventory went for our single family homes. We're still not in that earlier spring level of inventory. And we're at 4.5 weeks on condos. Look at where we were this point last year. We were at double that level. So both of our metrics of supply, when we index them to how fast homes are going under contract, are basically below where they are. And what I'm seeing is, here's my concern. Here's kind of what I'm worried about. Like, what keeps me up at night is normally our market works like this in California. And I say normally using that term very loosely. So normally in our market in California, what we end up getting is a situation where we go into spring with low inventory. This drives this buying frenzy, right? Where buyers are coming into the market a lot faster than sellers, and prices kind of do a big jump in that sort of like February, March type time frame. It does vary year to year when that happens. Then we kind of the throttle we pull back. It's like a plane taking off. You're full throttle to get off the ground. Then once you kind of head into late spring and summer, you're still rising, but you kind of pull things back a little bit. And then usually we have a little bit of a slump kind of in August and September, and then like a pretty decent October, November timeframe. And then we go back to that cycle for the beginning of the year. This is my concern. My concern is that some of the buyers are feeling pressured that interest rates may go up and they may miss their window. That is bringing some more of these buyers into the market. And we have sellers that are really just falling off a cliff in terms of not putting their homes on the market. And what that's doing is that's driving what appears to be another extreme inventory crunch that's starting to look like what we normally see in the spring, meaning we may get another period of time this year where we have a price jump. We might actually be in that this moment. Again, because of that sold data, because that's 4 to 6 weeks old, we don't know that for sure where that market is. I think we might have one more week before that really hits, but all the signs are kind of there. You know, this is if you ever lived in the Midwest, this is what they would call a tornado warning, right? Like nobody spotted a funnel cloud quite yet, but we all know the conditions are right for it. So you know, I've got to tell you that I think now is the worst time to be burnt out in real estate, because I think the next 60 days or so are going to be fairly rough. In fact, it might even be a little longer if things pause for the holidays. My concern is that what's going to happen in the holidays, we're just going to end up with almost no inventory. We're going to drop to just insane low levels of inventory still on the market. And everybody just takes a breather until January. But obviously, if you have questions or comments, if you think I'm dead wrong about this, I don't mind debating with anyone. It's just my opinion, though. Kind of looking at the numbers, I think there's a good chance we're going to see kind of a little bit of a period of kind of some price increases. I think they're going to have to happen because of where we are inventory wise. The other thing I wanted to mention is thank you again for watching. Wanted to give thanks. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. And lastly, if you are looking to purchase a home and you'd like good advice and you'd like someone who's actually going to go in depth with you, that's us. Definitely reach out to us. We have our contact information there in YouTube. You can click to get a 15-minute, no cost, no obligation consultation. We would love to hear from you. And we'll see you again next week.